Hi everyone, it's Darlene. Welcome back for another card video. Today's card is a pretty easy technique with some distress inks. I'm going to be using this Brushstrokes background by Stampin' Up! And this Tim Holtz collection by Stampers Anonymous Butterflies collection. I really love the lines of these butterflies. I'm going to use this Canson Mixed Media 98-pound paper, which comes 10 by 7, so I just sliced it in half for a 5 by 7 sheet. I'm going to start with my Brushstrokes background. I'm going to be using two inks, Twisted Citron, one of the newer colors, and Squeezed Lemonade. The first thing I'm going to do is ink up my stamp with the Twisted Citron, and I'm going to grab my Stamp-A-Majig because you can't see through this stamp, so it's a little hard to use the MISTI. I like to hold the block in the landscape direction because it's easier to grab such a big block for your Stamp-A-Majig. So I'm going to line up my plastic sheet with that square in the upper left-hand corner, and then I'll stamp it down so I know exactly where this stamp stamps onto the paper with this acrylic block. Now I'm going to put that off to the side and I'm going to mark my corner because you can easily turn this block around and then you don't know which way is up. After stamping my plastic sheet, I'm just going to put that off to the side and I'm going to ink up my stamp again with the same Twisted Citron, and I'm going to stamp it on my watercolor paper here, but it's going to be in the middle, so it really doesn't matter. I'm not using the Stamp-A-Majig right now. I just need to get my first stamp down on the paper. So make sure I get good coverage, and this ink will stay wet for a little while. Now I'll take my Stamp-A-Majig sheet and I'm going to line up my stripes so that they're inside the stripes I just stamped. And so then I'll put my little square up there in the upper left hand corner. And now that I have that ready to go, I'm going to take my stamp again, and I'm using Squeezed Lemonade. I'll just make sure I get this nice and covered. When I flip this block over, I'm going to make sure that my surgical tape is in the correct corner, so I actually had to flip it around. And then I'm going to carefully put it in the corner of this black handle, and I'm going to press down, make sure I get good coverage, and then I'll lift it up. And then I get it right in between. It's a little bit off because it's not exact. This is sort of supposed to be kind of a sketchy watercolor stripe. But anyway, it worked out great. I was really happy with the results of it. Now I'm using my archival black ink, and the reason why I'm using this ink is because I'm going to be applying water to it almost immediately, and I want something that's waterproof and that dries quickly. And this is a great ink for watercolor. Distress inks are very reactive with water, so I'm going to take advantage of that by taking my aqua painter and I'm just applying water inside my butterfly. And what it's going to do is it's going to activate my distress inks, and then when I put a tissue over it, it's basically going to soak up the color so that it's mostly white behind there. It will leave a faint color of the green and the yellow, which is what I was looking for, so it's not going to be totally white, but it's easier than masking and it's just fun to do. Now after I'm done picking up all that color, it really is making my butterfly pop out, but I wanted to pop it out even more, so I'm going to take some black soot and my aqua painter and make sure I get quite a bit of water in there because it's better to have less water than too much. And I'm going to draw an outline around my butterfly. And when I first drew this outline, I made it really, really faint because I wanted to just start with less, and then I can add more if I want to. So I'm just going all the way around. You can just go around the bottom part if you want to. I even went underneath the antenna. Now after that dried, I decided I wanted a little bit more of a darker area right at the edge of the butterfly. So I went back in with a little bit of a darker, more color with my aqua painter just around the very edge of the butterfly to make it pop even more. I also wanted to make it pop a little more by adding some shimmer. So I took my clear Wink of Stella pen and I just colored over the entire butterfly just to give it a little bit of shine. I then trimmed it down to 3 by 4 1/4, and I took my white gel pen and I just added a few highlights here and there. I think it made a difference in the body, but these dots were already pretty white, so you can pretty much skip this step if you want to. I wanted to add a black strip at the top and the bottom. I'm going to take my Shape and Tape by We Are Memory Keepers. It's basically just big sheets of washi tape, so you can cut them to any size you want, and it's extremely thin, so you don't have to worry about that bulk that you get behind a layer. So I trimmed this out to about 1/2 inch, so I have 2 1/2 inch pieces. I'm going to flip over my butterfly panel and I'm going to put some ATG tape runner, and then I'm going to turn it over so I could see exactly how much black is going to be showing. And then I'll do that same exact thing on the other side. I really just wanted a tiny little bit of the black, and I didn't want to mat the whole thing on a big piece of black cardstock. So this was a nice way to get a nice thin layer of color. So I just trimmed off the excess because the sheets are, I think, about 6 inches wide. And the next step, I'm going to take my card base, and I've also got a piece of wood grain cardstock by Simon Says Stamp. You can see it in the close-up photo of the blog. It's just a little bit of texture there at the top. And then I'm going to adhere the butterfly panel now. I put some ATG on the middle, and then I'll peel off the backing of my Shape and Tape. And it is a little tricky to get off, I have to say, but I love how it's so sticky and it's so thin. You don't have to worry about putting any adhesive behind it. Now it's time for my sentiment. I have this Sentiments and Quotes set by Altenew. It's one of the first sets they came out with, and it's got some really interesting ones in it. I like it a lot. I'm going to ink it up with some VersaFine black onyx ink, and then I'm going to stamp it off to the side right underneath the butterfly, just to kind of line up and balance that card out. And that's the card for today. So something unique and different. Rather than masking and just stamping around, I took the ink off after I applied it. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.